Hi, I wanted to do another video. I was watching the news, or I was looking at the news today. I get a lot of news feeds out of Bing, which is the go-to search engine for me. I don't use Google much. Once in a while I'll use Google, but for the most part I use Bing. The reason I use Bing is because it gives me news feeds at the bottom to relevant news stories that I can go and look up. One of them happened to be new Seattle streetcars too big for current tracks. I got a question. What does Seattle need with streetcars? I mean, I get it. The streetcar is cool looking and everything, and I just don't understand exactly what Seattle needs with having a streetcar. I mean, when I was in Seattle, when I lived there, Seattle had electric buses in downtown, and from 6 in the morning to 9 at night, it was all free. It was free because of the people that worked in the downtown area, the office buildings. They could hop on the light rail. They could, or they could hop on a city bus, and they could head to the restaurant, and have lunch, and then head back to work, and they wouldn't have to worry about paying a fare. And it was all electric, which meant that downtown there was no pollution from automobiles and things. In the peak time, they had buses that went underground throughout the city. Downtown, that is, from like Pioneer Square all the way out to like the Westlake Shopping Center and various other in-betweens, which was really nice. It was great. When you got out of the downtown zone, you could pull the wires down, or you could pull the trusses down off the electric wires, and you could fire up the bus and just go normal. I don't understand why cities have a really good idea and they get really lax on the idea, and then they come up with something years later that they told us like the newest thing going, when what they had before was way better, and it was very cost effective. I'm surprised that the ferry boats, that they still allow people to ride for free coming back from like Marrowstone Island and various other islands back to Seattle. I'm surprised they didn't start charging for that too. Now, in the beginning, they said the reason that everything was free coming back to Seattle was so people wouldn't get stranded on the other islands. Like, you run out of cash, you can't afford the trip back. So if you're working, say you're working, you're in Seattle, but you're working in one of the islands, you could go over there, do your work, and then you could come back, and it wouldn't cost nothing to come back on, which I thought that was really great for Seattle to do that. Now, Seattle was really happening when I was living there. Now it's just a pile of shit. It's like dump city. The homelessness problem is off the chain. You got Amazon and Facebook, which are making lots of money for the people that are working for them, but it's not contributing to the city of Seattle. Not really. Now, back to this. New streetcars, or new Seattle streetcars too big for current tracks. This was done, this is from U.S. News. I'm quoting from U.S. News here. This is a July 25th article. It says 10 new streetcars that Seattle ordered to expand its system may be of no use to the city now, as their extra large size could prevent them from fitting on the current tracks or inside the maintenance barn. Which means that you guys are so into making your city look like the city of the future, which originally Seattle was supposed to be the city of the future when it had the Space Needle go up. You guys are trying to keep up with the Joneses so much that you're going to end up destroying your city. Somebody has to stop you guys. Somebody has to stop you from destroying yourselves. The city council has all these grandiose ideas on how to make the city better, but judging from what they just did, I'll give you for instance, where I live at, we have a community room. And with the community room, we had a community television that everybody could watch. So we'd sit down a couple hours in the evening and we'd socialize with people in our building. And we would watch TV. Well, the TV picture went out. So management thought they would do it better and that they would order a new TV. Great. Okay. Well, they ordered an antenna that doesn't fit into the TV. So now they've got a TV with no way to hook it up because they're not doing cable anymore. They say cable's too expensive. So they're going to put an antenna to the TV. Well, instead of doing the smart thing, which would be get a different antenna that plugs into the TV via USB port, they decided to take the TV back and try to find a TV that would match the antenna. Sound familiar? Y'all have got 10 new streetcars that's too big for the tracks that you have and too big for the maintenance barn to put them in, which means that when the streetcars aren't being used, you have a barn where they're maintenanced and they won't fit in the barn. I'm just curious, what's wrong with the monorail system that you had? That was great. Westlake Shopping Center all the way out to the Space Needle. What more did you need? Huh? What more did you need? Are y'all planning on like linking up? I mean, you got a light rail system and now you want a streetcar system? You're not Portland, Oregon, although you have been likened unto sister cities. Portland has a streetcar. It's more for show. Yeah, you can ride it out of downtown and go over across the river to the shopping mall there, but for the most part, that's all it's good for. It's slow. It's not really good for nothing. They got a good light rail system, though. They do. They got an L train there. But when Seattle had the buses and they had the monorail, Seattle was great. It was a sleepy little town. It had a nice little atmosphere. You had your nice little coffee shops. It was just a great place to live. It was beautiful. Now I don't know what Seattle is. It hurts me so bad to see how crappy Seattle has turned out. Everything that was good and sweet and nice about Seattle is gone now. Seattle was in such a big hurry to grow up and become another San Francisco that everything that was nice about Seattle is just gone. The city that I love so much and would have died in if I could have spent the rest of my life there is gone. Y'all have screwed yourself out of the beauty that is Seattle with your Amazons and your Facebooks and chasing after that almighty dollar. You got people living in Seattle now that could give a crap less about Seattle. All they care about is that dollar and how much of it they can make. They don't give a shit about the people that love Seattle and that live in Seattle, that want to die in Seattle. All they care about is their next big buck. At one time, I loved Seattle so much that I would have been homeless in Seattle just so I could be there. That's how much I loved it. Of course, I wouldn't want to be homeless. I was homeless for a good many years in various cities that I've lived in. And to be honest with you, being homeless is no walk in the park. It's not fun. Now, the streetcars. The City of Seattle Department of Transportation ordered the new streetcars at a cost of $52 million. Are you shitting me? Really? $52 million? Are you crapping me? It'll connect its two existing streetcar lines, the Seattle Times reported. However, the new cars are heavier and longer than the existing cars. Really? Seattle, how stupid can you be? City Council, how dumb are you? Hello? God gave us a brain, not just to hold our ears apart and for a hat rack. God gave us a brain so we could think. Now they want to connect the two existing streetcars. However, the new cars are heavier and longer than the existing cars, Mayor Jenny Durkin's office said in a statement. The streetcars on the current routes were manufactured by Eincon, but the city hired another company after the first Hill streetcar line opened 2 years later. It opened 2 years late. It took 2 years longer than they expected. When negotiating a contract with the new company, the CAF USA, the city gave broad requirements for the new cars, almost all of which were larger than the specifications of the current cars. I don't think the city council understands what they're doing. I think you have put a bunch of children in charge of the store, a bunch of children in charge of the candy store, and you're expecting the children to be responsible around the candy. According to Eincon, the current cars are about 65 feet long. For the new streetcars, the city requested they be between 65 and 75.5 feet long, according to the contract. Their maximum weight is around 95,000 pounds compared to the current car's maximum weight of only 60,000 pounds. However, the new streetcars don't appear to be any wider than the current ones. Both cars are around 8 feet wide. At some point, the contract appears to have been changed to increase the length and width, to increase the length and the weight of the cars. At some point, the contract appears to have been changed to increase the length and the weight of the cars. City Council member Lisa Herbold wrote in a blog post that she is disappointed to hear of the error, and it appears the error will require either a change order for the design of the streetcars or it says here, it appears the error will require either a change order for the design of the streetcars or incur new costs for construction of new or retrofitted maintenance barns. I think you all just have a spending problem. That's what I think. I think you got a crap load of money in your pocket and it's just burning a hole in your pocket and you can't wait to spend it. That's what I think. Something needs to be done. I'm telling you, in 2021, if I'm able, I'm running for mayor of Seattle. Regardless of how I look, don't look at my looks. Look at what I'm saying. I want to fix Seattle. I want to bring down the cost of living. I want to bring down the rent cost, and I want to bring the spending under budget. I want us to make, if we're going to spend or we're going to buy something, I want it to be practical. I want it to be something that Seattle can really use. I just don't want to be keeping up with the Joneses and be like every other city on the block. If Seattle's a little slower getting to the top of the hill, at least the ride will be comfortable. And we can make sure we don't hit any potholes. The faster you try to get to the top of the hill, the rougher the ride is. And the more likely you are to bump into a pothole that'll destroy the vehicle you're riding in. The mayor's office questioned whether the increased weight and length of the new cars would impact current system, and if the current streetcar route and maintenance barn would handle the additional weight. See, they don't even know what in the fuck they're doing. Y'all don't even know what in the hell you're doing. It looks great on paper, but it ain't so great once it's built, because it ain't going to work. And you can take that to the bank. I'm telling you right now, I predict that you'll be scrapping that light. They'll be scrapping that that system, and I'm going to be calling. This is the 25th of July today. It is now 9:18 in the p.m. where I live. Tomorrow, I'm going to be calling the Seattle City Council and the mayor's office, and I'm going to be bitching and complaining about this new streetcar system that they're trying to put in place, because it ain't working. And I know it ain't working. And somebody needs to be held accountable, because this is going to be something that, and I'm not trying to bring scripture into this. I try not to be biblical as much as I can when it comes to politics, but even in the Bible it says that you should study what you're going to do ahead of time, because if you decide to do something and you have no way of finishing it because you haven't studied the cost, and the cost is more than just financial. The cost is how it's going to get done. Is it going to be done right? Will the existing area that you have to do it in going to be enough? Do you have to fix it? Because when you get halfway done and you realize that you're not able to finish it, it's going to be just sitting there, and everybody around you is going to be laughing at you, saying, "Oh, what happened? I thought you were going to put in a new streetcar." Well, guess what? It didn't get finished, did it? I don't want to be on the receiving end of that one. You guys might be okay with it, but Seattle deserves much better than what they're getting. Now, the mayor's office, and if the current streetcar route and maintenance barn could handle the additional weight and length. As a result of uncovering the challenges with the vehicle contract, more questions arose. Of course there was more questions, including what are the related costs in making the current system compatible with the new larger cars, the mayor's office asked. Well, before you started fucking up things, and before you started building stuff, and before you started tearing up the city of Seattle that I happen to love, you should have been asking those questions before it went from paper to reality. Back when it was still on paper, you should have considered the cost. Because y'all are really starting to piss me off. I'll be damned if I let a bunch of people in the city council and the mayor's office destroy Seattle. The Seattle that I love. I'm making this kind of short and sweet tonight because I wanted to do this video about the new streetcar that Seattle's putting in to help with the existing streetcars they already got. For one thing, I don't think y'all need a streetcar. Now, having said that, this is a part A. Tomorrow, after I contact the city council, I'll do an update video to let you know what the city council told me. Now, I'm going to find somebody that's actually able to talk to me that's a city council member. I don't want to talk to anybody that's an aide to the city council member. When you're going to get an apple and you want to make sure that there's no rotten spots in it, you don't go to the barrel to get your apple. You go get it off the tree. That's been all things considered, because I consider all things.